Good morning, this is Makané with your reading for today. The moon is waxing, we're in mid-March, and this is our reading. So we have some, looks like a lot of the blahs still hanging on. You can hear the birds are really active today. It's spring, and the last reading I did was all about mixed happiness and feeling like things are a little bit maybe out of our control, but we have commitments that we're being steadfast to, even in the face of adversity. And we're continuing to feel the effects of the adversity we're in. So the first card is about the past. This is loss. This is, again, the year behind us. This is the pandemic. This is all who have suffered losses, grief. This is all those who have suffered, many different forms of losses, and the feeling of being sort of lost and up to our elbows in grief, up to our elbows in frustration, up to our elbows in sadness. So the message of this card is to not carry all of this alone. There's instruction here to get helping hands. You can see the big friendly hands in this card, and these helper hands are in many forms. They're first responders, they're mental health professionals, they're spiritual advisors, they're shamans, they're witchy healers in our community, they're those sending their prayers to us or for our loved ones, people who come out of the woodwork to offer support, people who appear in the places of most heaviness and sadness in hospices and hospitals. And we're asked when we're feeling this to remember to ask for support, even if it's just spiritually, like asking our burdens to not be only our own, and asking if someone else can show us the way to lay our burdens down. So this doesn't mean foisting them onto others. So in our frustrations, often when we don't ask for help, when we don't take care of ourselves, then we will feel that sense of overwhelm, and in a moment of unconsciousness and frustration, we may find ourselves throwing our burden onto another in the form of anger or upset. And like yesterday, I was feeling quite overwhelmed in my own body, and my feeling of pain and illness, and like I have a bug that I'm like, obviously creates a lot of sense of unease when we have an illness right now. So I am planning to get a COVID test, but in the meantime, I've been just trying to retreat, to take care of myself. And sometimes these things arise because we need that extra space. Like that's actually a lot of what this card is about. But before we jump ahead into there, just I wasn't really fully nurturing myself, and my partner even said like, "Oh, I forgot you were sick." Because I was doing the things I normally do. Yeah, so if you're suffering and those around you are forgetting, it's not that you need to aggressively remind them, which unfortunately I fell into that trap with my sister, where she was like asking me very nicely to finish this flyer for a event that we're hosting together. She teaches qigong, and I was going to prepare a cacao ritual, but I haven't been feeling energetically like I've been in this space yet. So she was asking me very nicely to do the flyer for the week ahead, and I understood it as I needed to finish it today or yesterday. And this got me so stressed out, and I was working on this tiny phone trying to edit text, and my brain felt like soup and my body felt heavy, and everything was just like feeling yuck in my system. So I finally was just like kind of blowing up, and I was like, what is this coming from? How is this coming out of me? It's not who I want to be right now. And I, even when we apologize, it's like, we can't unsay the things we say, we can't unrift the waves that are like then continuingly just showing up in other ways. Like, I felt the energy still a little tense, even though I did apologize and she said she forgave me. But it's a lot. It's a lot to try to carry our burdens all on our own, and we're not really meant to do that. And it comes from a place of like needing to feel in control, I guess. I was looking for an outlet for my frustrations, perhaps, but it wasn't consciously. But I was thinking I can just carry them all. But then part of me is just like, no. And when anyone else tries to put anything on us in that moment, it's amazing how quickly our anger arises to react, to defend us. No, don't you dare put anything else on me. Don't you dare lay your guilt on me. Don't you dare lay, pressure on me. So all this to say that we must seek the support of laying our burdens down gently before we get to that place. And today I do feel much more centered and clear, and I am not going to double down my efforts to work harder to catch up with all that's on my plate. I'm just gonna rest and take it really slow. So the next card here we have is restriction. So this is a bit about when we're in that place and we're feeling that sense of despair, we get locked into a way of thinking. We get locked into our view about it. We actually can become a prisoner of our own mind. So who wants to be that? This idea of restriction and limitation, it's coming from a self-protective place. It's coming from our inner sense of needing to adult and these I have tos and I can't, and instead of like I'm choosing, like instead of making room for choices or making room for our inner child that maybe wants to say no, or maybe wants to take a break, we're just saying, no, I have to do this. I'm committed to XYZ. This way of thinking is not serving us right now, and so we have joy guides who are appearing to us. In the last card we had healer guides. So those are the hands. So here we have joy guides, and so the guides are all about calling in forces of support and aid, and these may be things, people we can see and touch, and they may be energies that we feel. They may be deities, spirits that we work with. They may be nature spirits. So identify for yourself, who are your joy guides? What does your inner joyful child look like? How does she like to present? And invite her to come in and to shine some new perspective in how you can deal with this situation. You are feeling very bogged down by life at the moment, so there's no need to chain ourselves in the mire we're in, but we can find a sense of freedom when we say that, what we're going through is not necessarily us, or our rage, our despair, our depression is not necessarily who we are. The image that came to mind recently, or that really stuck with me, was a mountain, and I had seen this mountain called Anorki in New Zealand, and God, it was so beautiful. I wish I could go there right now. The top of the mountain had snow caps. The rest of the mountain was like vibrant blue, and there was these clouds that would just sort of drift gently over. And in the drifting, they were presenting a beautiful like window into this snowy mountainy peak world that was like this constant, but the clouds moving past it was like the reminder of all the weather, everything that rains down on this mountain, like all the snow. But the mountain itself is stable, is there, has been there since, I don't know, since a volcano pushed it up. So we are who we are at our core, the essence of ourself that we know as innocent and pure and untouched by the sorrow, the bliss, the joy of our being is still there, even amidst loss, even amidst suffering. So it's just about uncovering it. So we're doing the work of covering it up when we're overly restricted and we're overly locked in a single mindset. And we're doing the work of freeing ourselves when we're offering new ways of thinking, humility, when we're offering a sense of not rigidness, like, oh, this is how I normally respond to a situation. But is that me? So sense of fluidity, like maybe I can respond differently today. Maybe I can ask for the help I'm seeking, even though that's not something I normally do. So, or ask for the space I need. So this card is about the aspect of like needing space and needing liberation, needing to get free of the consciousness we're in. So sometimes our pain is a reflection of inner dramas that are seeking release. We're seeking release from. We'd like to take the space for ourselves, to celebrate ourselves, to be the center of our world, to feel the support of the divine, that we're on our path, and yet we feel like we're sort of stuck in a place on a road that maybe doesn't look like it's taking us where we need to be. But the message of this card is, you're feeling pain, you're feeling at a loss, you're feeling a lot of struggle, and that this too shall pass, and also this is a teaching moment. So I'm going to grab my little book here to capture some of the words from this. Were really nice from the book. It's important to note that, this part. Your advised teachers will advise you to be open to the fact that any pain or upset you attract isn't without hidden gifts and opportunities. So sometimes we actually find ourselves in a challenge, in a difficult situation. Maybe unconsciously we attracted it because we wanted to have space for change. Like sometimes we won't give ourselves permission to fully change a situation until a certain fallout has occurred, right? Like that's very human. That's like our environmental crisis. Like, why don't we just start preventing climate change the moment we started noticing all the pollution and all the increase of disease that this over deforestation and human activity and waste pollution has created? Like, why didn't we start reversing it as soon as it became a problem? So rather than having things always have to escalate that way, you can start to analyze for yourself, just like, and not necessarily every illness, every pain, is self-inflicted. I want to make that really clear. I don't see the world in absolutes like that, but I do see that there is room to ask, like, is there any bit of responsibility that I'm needing to own up to, and not to guilt myself and not to lay unnecessary burdens on myself, but just to liberate myself from patterns that may have been attracting unnecessary illness. Like there's a idea in the yogi text that there's different kinds of illnesses. There's those that are self-inflicted, there are those that are brought on by our upbringing, and there are those that are brought on by imbalances of our environment, our body. So asking yourself, what is the root of this illness? Is it from self? Is it from upbringing? Is it from environment, or the imbalance of like what you're putting in your body? So yeah, just an opportunity to find a hidden gift or opportunity to change. So here it says, your broken leg or aching back may provide you much needed rest you wouldn't otherwise take. Your runny nose and cough may give you the privacy you need to regenerate your spirit. And when I read that, I was like, whoa, this is literally what I'm going through right now. Like the intuition I had to like not necessarily spend too much time in the cold, when it was beautiful and sunny and warm, but I was so invited to spend a little more time than I really ought to have. So not getting prematurely prematurely just throwing away our sense of self-care due to the fact that we see a reason to celebrate, like sort of like with the COVID thing, like, okay, maybe people are getting vaccines. Yes, does that mean it's time to flock to all the restaurants or jump on a plane? Like, not necessarily. So there is also another message here in the book. It says, any pain or drama you may be attracting is not greater than your ability to handle it. So if you're calling it in yourself, then it's because you're trying to learn a lesson from it. And if it's calling in from some other source, it's like there are times where we're not able to handle it. I mean, that's the reality. I feel like the message of this card is a little lopsided in that idea that all things are self-manifest, and I don't see the world that way because I myself have dealt with thoughts of suicide in the past, and I have felt the sense of collapsing under the weight, and I think anyone who has dealt with a true mental illness would not agree with this idea that like you brought this all on yourself. Like, well, maybe your brain just like had a chemical imbalance that is not treatable, or maybe the trimming back of the mental branches that occurs in adolescence became too severe due to stressors beyond your control. So like how is that self-inflicted? So anyway, I have beef with that idea, but I'm just trying to express that sometimes we try to overly control this idea that, oh, I can avoid pain if I just know all the ways that I'm bringing it on. And I think we can't control life that way. And I think we're not meant to. And I think if we actually surrender to that, we can actually instead of having all that tension in our body of like, oh, why did I bring this on myself? Or why am I feeling this? This is so unfair. Why am I struggling with this sense of pain? Like, it becomes a tension in our brain that is not able to be freed by our body. That is not able to be utilized properly for what it's meant to be for. Like, our sense of pain is meant to give us an alert that we need to take care of something. And when we're putting all the stress in our mind, we're not tending to it. We're just cycling over thoughts. And so anyway, our divine teachers are here. They're showing up. So like asking for higher guidance, meditating on it, and not letting whatever is just causing you discomfort to be more disabling than it needs to be, just by our focusing on the sort of upset in the moment. So in accepting the upset of our moment with grace, we can gain wisdom, compassion, and strength. Our divine teacher's message is embrace and be patient with your pain. It will bring insight and understanding, and in time, peace, and you will heal. That's the message for today. And you might keep seeing these like weird little peaks to the side. This is a card I drew for myself and my partner, and this is about communication. And I feel like because it keeps peekabooing in the frame, I should talk about it. So this is a sword about setting boundaries, about being clear, and about when you're ready to be done with a situation, just be done with it. Just shift and move on instead of dragging it out. So like if we're feeling really stuck and we're beating ourselves up about our pain or something, just make a concrete decision to stop stressing yourself out about it and see it as like this is advice of Shanti Deva. This is like a Buddhist teacher. See it as a fly that's trying to land on your shoulder instead of part of you. So when you start to get locked in that rigid thinking, like maybe invite some helpful little cherubs around instead of these pesky repeating ideas. So joy, healing, divine teaching. There is light on the other side, I promise. It's just because we're here to learn, and this is all like the stuff that we're facing right now is like gonna catapult the evolution of this planet. And maybe it will help us focus on like the things that really matter in the ways that we can send our efforts toward healing and toward joyfully doing the work and toward healing ourselves and getting really clear, getting a lot of clarity on what it is we're here to do. So don't get lost in the swamp and the bog. Break yourself free of those chains and have a wonderful day.